Radyo Katipunan. News, insights, inspiration. Radyo Katipunan. Down from the hill and down to the world. Radyo Katipunan. The voice of the Blue Eagle.
You're listening to the voice of the Blue Eagle.
You know what it is? Of the Blue
On the
Eagle.
Campus Radio.
Radyo Katipunan, 87.9.
This is Radio Katipunan 87.9 FM, the voice of the Blue Eagle.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng pwera. Radyo, radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod. Todo sa kayod, punong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing giting at gigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
Radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan, radyo, 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 Katipunan, radyo, Katipunan. Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng kwela. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Kawal ni Ignacio, Katipunero sugod. Todo sa kayod, dunong at tulong. Lipad na Blue Eagle, galing giting at gigil. Blue and white, one big fight. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan. Radyo, 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 Katipunan. Radyo, Katipunan.
And there was another drive-by shooting today downtown.
Do you sometimes feel confused or lost in the complications and complexities of life? Do you feel drained, listless, or exhausted from the daily burdens and responsibilities? Why not seek our campus ministers on air every Tuesday from 2 to 3 in the afternoon? Listen to our counselors from the Loyola School's Campus Ministry Office as they ground our lives in our faith, in our school's spiritual tradition. Campus Ministers on Air. Be guided, be inspired, be blessed. Listen to our Campus Ministers on Air.
It's a beautiful Tuesday afternoon, friends. Welcome to Campus Ministers on Air. This is the radio program of the Loyola School's Office at Campus Ministry, where we try to find God
In everything
and everything under the sun. I'm Mike Ramirez. I'm the Campus Minister for Senior Students here in Ateneo de Manila University. At may makakasama tayong special co-host for this afternoon.
So I am Eliza Batito, a campus minister from the Senior High School of Ateneo de Naga University.
And samahan niyo kami ngayong hapon sa episode na to dahil we stumbled upon a person who is a wellspring of experience. You know, Alay, all in one person.
Yes.
No, spirituality, spiritual direction, no, faith, counseling, education, parang lahat na nasa kanya. So ipapakilala namin sa inyo later. But of course, sa lahat ng mga nakatutok ngayon, if you would like to follow us, you can find ls.ocm and you will be directed to the official Facebook page of the Campus Ministry Office, and we're using the similar handler, ls.ocm for our Instagram account and Twitter account. So you may follow us, put your reply, comment, and send us your message on how you like our program this afternoon. And huwag po kayong magugulat, no? Dahil medyo iba yung background ng studio natin ngayon. Because, yes, we are currently broadcasting from the Sacred Heart Novitiate Retreat Center. Okay? At napansin nyo, guys, medyo mainit na talaga. You know, Alay, summer is really here. How do you feel?
Medyo ramdam na natin yung init.
And bakit nga ba nandito tayo sa field at wala sa studio, Alay? Why are we here today?
Yes, we're actually here because we just concluded with a program under the Center for Ignition Spirituality.
Right.
Yes.
And we had our Module 3. So sa lahat po ng mga nakatutok ngayon, kung interesado po kayo sa Ministry of Accompaniment, just search for CIS or as Alay mentioned, Center for Ignition Spirituality. Alay, huwag na natin patagalin pa.
Yes.
Ipakilala na natin ang ating guest for this afternoon. Okay? So, we now bring you Father Boy Rara.
Hi, good afternoon. Thanks for inviting me here. I would like to introduce myself. I'm Father Boy Rara from the Diocese of Tagbilaran, Bohol, Philippines. I've been a priest for 47 years.
47?
And of course, being 47 means you can just guess my age. It's a retarded age.
Would you like to guess Father Boy's age?
Never mind.
Yes, guys. Well, you'll know later as we go along, right?
Yes.
Baka may gusto kang itanong kay Father Boy as we begin.
Siguro how do you feel right now, Father Boy?
I feel so privileged, you know. It's good to be invited, and it's my time being in my, senior years. It's my feeling is that I have to leave something for as legacy for the younger generations.
Tanungin mo naman ako, bakit bigla akong on the spot dito si Father Boy?
Diba, no? So bakit mo in-invite si Father Boy?
Ano kasi Alay, nung nakikinig ako sa kwento ni Father Boy, I said, Father Boy, more and more people should listen to your story kasi it's just so rich. Ikaw, paano ka ba na-move, na-touch ng story ni Father Boy habang nagkukwentuhan kayo at table?
Grabe. Actually, sobrang inspired ako sa story ni Father Boy that I also feel the same way that this should be shared, no? With more people, especially young people. And I've been sharing with Father Boy, can we invite you in Naga? So, interested naman si Father Boy. So, hopefully also, you can invite him to a live audience. Pero now, we're very privileged to listen to Father Boy's story.
At least kasama natin si Father Boy in flesh.
Yeah.
Iimbitahan niyo siya sa Naga.
Yeah.
Pero iimbitahan din tayo ni Father Boy sa Bohol.
Yes.
Okay. Huwag na natin bitinin yung ating mga listeners and viewers ngayong hapon, Alay, no? Pwede na siguro natin itanong yung ating unang question. Would you like to do the honor of asking Father Boy the first question for this afternoon na prepare natin sa kanya? Kasi alam mo, dito talaga ako na-struck at dito ako very, very much interested.
Yeah.
Akalain mo, si Father Boy is 47 years ng pare, pero hindi ito nagtatapos ang kwento sa pagiging pare. Meron pang wellness tayo makikita.
Yeah.
So, maybe you would like to ask Father Boy?
So napakayaman nung experience ni Father Boy as a priest because he's been a military chaplain. No, so we would like to ask Father Boy to share with us, his experience as a military chaplain in the U.S. So maybe also share the consolations hunger, no, and desolations along the way as a chaplain.
Right.
Yes, going to the military service in the U.S. it was really a courageous act on my behalf because I was still new in the in the U.S. Trying to learn the culture, and then I jumped into the vast, differences of cultures in the United States, and because I was dealing with young soldiers. So when I applied, I had to undergo the training for 3 months. I went into bivouac, I went into running, crawling, all the military things that are required to become a U.S. Army chaplain. So when I was accepted, I got the rank of a captain. And so I was a chaplain captain of a battalion, and my battalion was support battalion. And one thing that I want to underscore first is in the U.S. Army, the chaplain goes with his soldiers wherever they are, whether they're in the field or out there in the battlefield, in the desert. I have to be there with them. So when I was deployed at the third year of my military service, I was deployed to War 8 because that was the first Gulf War. It was called the Desert Storm. Mga anong year ito pa? That was about 1980, 81. I mean, the war started in 1981, but we were already ready for war in 1980. We were already stationed in the Middle East. We started in Saudi Arabia, and then we journeyed from Saudi Arabia to Kuwait. So for every 50 kilometers in the desert, we have to do camping. And we try to reposition ourselves. So it's really an adventure. So it was I was in the movie.
Yeah.
Desert Storm, no?
Yes, it was like my imagination of what it means to be in the war. So it was like moving into the desert in a dark night, and we have a very very weak flashlight to really guide us because we don't want to be known that we're moving out of our camp. So it was beautiful. But along the process of jumping from one station to the other, I really have to attend to the morale of the soldiers. So I have to check with them and how are they and what can I help them, how can I communicate their messages to their families, because at that time there was no cell phone yet.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so much to take. No? But sige, let's try to dissect more of it, especially, ayan nabanggit ni Father, no? Gulf War, Desert Storm, the 1980s, wartime, no? Probably yung mga nakikinig sa atin sa Facebook at sa other social media platforms, no? Pero hindi pa kayo pinanganak. Susubukan natin i-guide kayo sa pakakinig sa amin ngayong hapon. So, unti-unti natin yan. Simulan siguro natin, Alay, no? Doon sa naging journey ni Father sa pagiging chaplain. Ikaw ba, bilang born in the 1980s or 90s ka na?
90s.
90s ka na? Oh my God, I feel old. Okay, so ikaw ba, nakamit ka naman ng military chaplain in person?
Wala pa. Actually, that's why I was so interested to listen to Father Boy's story, no? Kasi never have I met someone who's been to the military or at least, no, chaplain pa.
Yes. Okay, so ipapadefine natin shortly mamaya kay Father Boy ang military chaplain. But maybe we can ask Alay here, who is kind of younger generation, ano yung perception niyo pag narinig niyo yung military chaplain? What do they usually do? Para sa'yo ba? Hula, grass,
Okay.
para sa'yo anong ginagawa ng military chaplain?
First
Ay,
of all,
military chaplain ba yun?
chaplain. Pero first of all, syempre, we go with the soldiers, with the military. And I can imagine that Father Boy has to bring a lot of stuff. Because, parang na-imagine ko kasi as a new hiker, parang I imagine, parang backpacker, no? Parang may mga dala kang mga gamit. And as a chaplain, you have to bring musket.
Sola.
Yes, aside from yung mga basic needs ng isang person, he also has to bring that because he's there to guide the battalion,
That
no?
is so
In their spiritual life.
Okay, so ganun yung
Ini-imagine ko.
image ni Alay sa isang military chaplain. Puntahan naman natin yung mismong nakaranas ng adventure, Father.
You know what? Being a chaplain, okay, like we have to understand that as a chaplain, you are in different denominations.
True.
So in one division, we were 14 chaplains who were deployed to the Middle East. But there were only 2 of us who were Catholics. All the rest were
Two Catholics.
Yeah,
The rest
Roman
Christians.
Christians, yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
what is also important to know is that as a chaplain, we are assigned to one vehicle and one soldier who is my driver, my sacristan, and my defender who brings the gun. I can carry a gun.
So, your role as a soldier won't end in carrying firearms and grenades and other stuff, but being a sacristan as well, pwedeng ko yung mga sacristan pala ng isang military chaplain.
Right.
That's new to me, Father.
Yeah,
No?
yeah.
That's why, sabi ko nga, maybe not all of the younger generation will have a grasp of that, but we're very thankful that you explained that to us. So, pwede pa na mag-isa kasi, kala ko magsusundalo lang ako, tapos eto ako, bigyan nag-isa kasi ng pare and personal driver. Curious question, Father.
Yes.
No, of course it's desert, no? Naubusan ka ba ng holy water?
No, I've got plenty of holy water, but the thing is, I have to, always bless the holy water kasi we use the desalinated water.
Mm-hmm.
And when you open the bottle of the desalinated water, it smells bad the following day. It smells like you're in the shore.
It's in a lower drink, right?
Yeah. It's,
So, blessing by contact na yun.
Yeah, by contact.
So, when you say blessing by contact, may
right.
vessel si Father ng holy water, i-contact niya na dun sa new container with water. And now, all of the vessel content would be blessed. So, yun yung ginagamit siya.
What was also interesting being a chaplain there was the chaplain is the only one who has a wine. We cannot you bring wine there because it's a Muslim country.
Oh, you have an excuse!
So the young soldiers were really friendly to me because I have the wine.
So, paano you know I have this feeling that we have a wine there? So, Mompo?
Yes, one
Yes.
yeah. But they have an alcohol content too. So and it came with a can. So it's just like, okay, here you go.
And where's your cantina? Or,
Yeah. Pray 1 hour.
And like, what's interesting for you, pag nai-imagine mo yung buhay ng isang pare na nasa desierto where the air is really dry, and I think they're eating MRE,
Yes.
meals ready to eat, no?
Yeah. The MRI dehydrated food, and then mealtime they give us the package, and then we put water and we just heat it in the sun, and then it softens. And that's how we made it for 4 months before we finally have a great camping where the supply of food was really, was delivered to us. It has to come from France. I don't know why it came from France.
And of course, I am guessing here the delayed gratification. The delayed gratification, eating MRE for 4 months, and you're going to wait for that specific period of time when it's about time to eat abundantly. No? I guess, like Nina, you're curious about what's that?
Well, I was curious how they, where they get their water, because that's a very basic need.
Yeah.
And we know that in the desert, it's because
Well, I spoke about desalinated water. It's like this bottled water and desalinated. It came from the sea, and they make it, potable to everyone. And water was really very significant because if we don't drink water with this dry heat, it's not a heat that you sweat. So usually we were told that, remember, in the desert you will never sweat, you just pass out if you don't drink. So we require the soldiers to drink water. So that's also one of my work to have the campaign with the soldiers to check whether they're drinking waters.
So how many gallons or
A
liters
gallon
do
or
you
two
know?
every day.
too, every day.
Yeah, so that you will
It's a
not
lot.
get dehydrated.
Father, maybe we can backtrack a bit for our listeners and viewers. No, you work as a chaplain in the military in the United States. Filipino priest was able to go to the U.S. and go into the military of the United States. So can you tell us?
Okay, my nationality didn't make a difference.
Mhm.
You know, my priesthood made a difference for me to go to the military because they really need Catholic priests because Protestant ministers are rampant in the whole military arena. So that's why I said there were 40 chaplains, only two are
To
Catholic.
Catholics.
So they're really welcome, even though I was not yet a citizen when I joined the military. I was just a green card holder.
Green card holder. Okay.
So they really need Catholic chaplains in the military.
Okay.
So it's so funny because you know how we as Filipinos would like to hear all these curses. The cursing of the soldiers is very rampant.
And it's normal to them, no?
It's normal to them, so I
Take the effort.
I complained to my commander that to tell soldiers not to say bad words. So the commander announced it to the whole battalion.
Wow.
And so when I make my rounds to the soldiers, they will shout at me, rah, rah, rah. I mean, that was cute. No? They were cheering for me because I came. But that was a warning for them not to say a bad word because the chaplain is around.
Okay. If you're about to say a bad word, replace it with Rara. Okay, actually, my follow-up question after the story of father for being the military chaplain. What was that?
Maybe a highlight of the consolation and the desolation.
I know that's a beautiful thing to
Yeah.
ask, Father, in terms of your experience. Huh? Consolation and
Desolation.
Yeah, the consolation really there is we are ministers because a lot of these soldiers are high school graduates. They're very young. And a lot of them go to the military just to be able to have the scholarship so that they can go to college after their term. 2 years in the military.
right?
So a lot of them are very young. So some of them cries about their family and all these things. But my consolation is this: I'm really guiding these soldiers to really be a man, you know, to have the conviction that they are really fighting for a good cause.
The mental
For the
toughness.
country, yeah, mental toughness in light of the, you know, this I wouldn't say Catholic teaching because I was dealing with different denominations, right? So with a decent idea about the Bible, you know, and teaching them on how to be a man of God. And so that was really a great consolation. I didn't realize I could be that influential to them, but they listen to their chaplains. Because I do both the Catholic and the Protestant service. You know, I lead the Protestant service, and I do the mass for the Catholic soldiers. So they were that was really a very consoling part. But you know, I find fulfillment by being a Catholic chaplain in the military. On the other hand, the desolation is, you know, accidents can happen in the military training, you know. It's really very sad that because sometimes it's the chaplain who has to inform the family about it. Or I have to be with a team of, you know, military officers that I have to go with and tell the family that there's death in the family. So that's really kind of hurting. Because remember, these soldiers are young. So,
Young and
What
drafted.
age?
oh, they're high school graduate, like they have grade 12, so they are 18, 21, yeah,
So they don't.
years old, and some are very adventurous. They think they're rumble, you know.
Yeah.
So, so accidents can happen.
Thank you for that, Father Boy. No? But that brings me to my next question, which is very, very curious question. So I can just imagine that the Gulf War is really the kind of war happening in the Eastern
So that was it.
Saddam Hussein. So, konting history for all our listeners and viewers. During that time, it was Saddam Hussein because of oil.
Yeah, they attacked quiet because we wanted to get that
Oil. Okay, the oil deep wells.
Wells.
The oil wells. Okay, so Saddam Hussein attacked Kuwait because he wanted to dominate in terms of the oil. The oil. Okay, so now, was there a closer encounter with a real, crossfire for a military champion like you?
Okay. Our positioning was really different. Okay. During when the war started, we were in the third layer of defense.
Oh.
So the first layer of defense were the Marines. The second layer of defense were the multinational defense. So the different countries.
They come
And
together.
then the third we were the third layer of defense, right? But when there is an accident or where there is a casualty that happens, they bring it to us. And that's where I have to attend to those soldiers who are wounded, and we have the triads. So those soldiers who are already dead are placed in a bag, and those who are surviving and still, in a critical condition, I look at their name tag, because in the name tag there is the religious reference. So if they're Catholic, I give them the last rites. And if they're not Catholic, I just pray. I pray over them. Yeah, so that's the hardest part. And then doing that also, so when you meet all the soldiers who are these casualties, you have to be in complete, covered. You're covered. You have to use your mask, your gas mask, and your gloves, because we don't know if there's contamination in the body from the chemical attack.
Oh, yes, we can remember that aside from bombings and all, they're using poison.
Poison, right? So it was more critical chemical biological warfare. And so we have to always be careful in doing that. And then because it's not the traditional war that the other side are fighting with each other with bombs and all those things. Because for example, our big, we call it the bazooka or all those things. They can shoot for over 500 kilometers. Not 500 meters or something. 1 kilometer away, they can shoot the enemy in the desert. So it's not really like a combat thing, but it's really very strategic.
Yeah.
And then what's nice is we watch the monitor. I said, look, their military weapon is going to a cliff. So when their military weapon it goes lower, right? So we hit them with that. So it's kind of interesting in a way from a hindsight point of view.
Yes.
But during the time, I was just scared up.
Yeah.
So alive while listening to our guest this afternoon. By the way, Father Boy Rara from Bohol, no? While listening to Father Boy, what struck your imagination and your interest while, a priest in the middle of a battlefield?
I was wondering what kept Father Boy going, what made him be resolute in that path.
And stable, no?
Yeah, and be stable.
Well, now you can say it was stable, but at the time, there was a time when I left the military, I have the effect of post-trauma syndrome.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that the focus on the thing that caused the trauma syndrome is when I was told by the regional commanders that there was a casualty of helicopter crash. And I saw my commander was there in the helicopter crash, and he was 6'5" tall. And then when I went into the center where the casualty was, it was probably 4 feet tall. It was burned totally, and I had to open the bag, the body bag.
Were you able to withstand that?
You have to, because you're there. That's your mission.
Yeah, I know.
Blessed. But I
It's
think that the state and all those things, and we were like, oh my God, I with those and keep on appearing in my mind. So I had a post-traumatic syndrome disorder. But then because of that, I was able to go into a rehab. And then after I went into the rehab, I was able to minister more with understanding with the soldiers who had post-traumatic syndrome disorders as well.
Now that becomes an immersion.
Because being a wounded person and healing with another wounded person. And we have the same experience in the Lord. And that's the beauty of this. I mean, thanks with my woundedness, I can really reach out to others. So there is the positive side of what is something negative happening in our lives.
Alright, we will just check in to our listeners and viewers. If you are liking this episode for this afternoon, you can comment on the Facebook live stream and we will try to respond to that in the best way possible. But for those who have just tuned in, Mike Ramirez from the Campus Ministry Office of Ateneo de Manila University.
And I am Eliza Batito from the Campus Ministry Office of Senior High School at Ateneo de Manila University.
And that gives more meaning to the Campus Ministers on air. And we have Father Boy Rara from the Diocese of Bohol.
Yes,
Tagbilaran in Bohol, who used to be a military chaplain in the United States of America, and we now have the privilege to be with him in flesh, no? Hindi na via Zoom, hindi na via phone patch, but rather in real flesh. And by the way, we are broadcasting from the Sacred Heart Novitiate because we're having this module under the Center for Ignatian Spirituality. So, ano yung nakikita mo ngayon, Alay, no, as we go about this interview? The connection of Father Boy's experience and what is happening to us today in this module.
Yeah, well, it's all about the confinement, no? It's about journeying with souls, journeying with people, and also just like what Father Boy just mentioned, no? Sometimes the more we recognize our own goodness, the more other people's goodness also makes sense to us, and the more capable we become when journeying with more compassion towards other people. Yeah.
Thank you for that, Alay. And that brings me to my question, no? Imagining Father Boy being there in the desert, blessing dead bodies, blessing wounded soldiers, probably extreme unction, no? The last sacrament of reconciliation before they die, and seeing your commander in a helicopter crash. I guess you have this something in you, probably a skill or an experience or an educational background, which somehow helped you stay afloat during those times.
Oh yes, before we are accepted in the military, we have to undergo psychological, moral, like different kinds of counseling, and also the physical aspect of it. We have to pass our physical exams. Like we have to run 2 miles for 15 minutes, be able to do 50 push-ups and 50 set-ups, and to make us strong because we run around the desert.
So let's highlight that, Alay, no? Let's highlight that for our listeners and viewers. Hindi pwedeng pray lang. Kailangan mo tumakbo, kailangan mo mag-push up.
Know your skills in counseling. Your skills in counseling.
Any field of study,
Well, I took up clinical pastoral education, which is really very heavy kind of counseling. Clinical pastoral education, CPE. Yeah. So that's a very intense program.
And that somehow prepared you to the war.
It did.
Where did you have your CPE or?
I took it in the States. I took it in the Baptist Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think they have a better setup in terms of the training. So I took it for 2 years, and I went in that training. The second year is you have to take a specialty, and my specialty is behavioral medicine that covers drug addiction, Alcoholics Anonymous, manic depressive depression, and people with psychiatric behavior that make them induced behavior became psychiatric because of drugs and all those things. So that's very challenging, And I'm glad that been working there for 20 years. I still come out sane.
And how would you do that, Father? Prayer?
You have to be flexible. You have to be flexible. I mean, when we experience death in the hospital or we see clients getting wild, after that we have to ask to relax our mind. Of course, prayer is one of them. So going to the mall to
Somehow take a breather.
Right.
If you're thinking about our CIS module, what's the closest term for that?
What's the closest term for that?
Yeah, like you don't want to get too much involved and not your experience too much. Maybe we call it the bracketing. The bracketing. Okay, so natutunan namin nila kasi nga, dear friends, mag-take na kayo ng CIS modules. Yes. At kaklase na namin si Father Boy dito sa module na to, which is, I think, very, very helpful. Now alive, of course. In one straight line, this is the priesthood, the vocation to the priesthood, and there's an intersecting line because of the behavioral, psychological, clinical aspect of your studies. How do you find that intersecting point helpful in your ministry during those times?
Well, it's necessary to be able to integrate your spiritual and your psychological behavior. There should be an integration so that there's a congruency in your belief system and your life. And how do we say that? That's spirituality. The congruency of what you believe and what you do is our spirituality, and that becomes a journey. When you integrate this, that becomes your spiritual journey, and that makes it more clear to you that you are really a direction to really serve God. Because from the psychological point of view, the only thing that they can teach with psychological aspect is to find meaning in your life. But we have to go beyond meaning because God is there. And He is more than a meaning in our lives. It's the totality with us.
It's just beautiful, ladies and gentlemen, to hear that, wellspring of experience and wisdom, that we are now bringing to you today, this afternoon, in this program, Campus Ministers on Air. And when listening to Father Boyd, as we move along, a lot of questions are popping inside my mind. One curious question, Father Boyd, is in the desert, while you were deployed, is silence difficult to get?
Oh my God, you're being overwhelmed by silence, especially at night.
Yeah.
Because our electricity is very limited. As I live in a box. And then at night it's very dark, and you have all the stars very clear.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see all kinds of, running of the stars, like,
Meteor showers.
And all this. Very beautiful and very enriching, really. And now at that time I understood why we have what we call the desert fathers in their experience of spirituality.
Wow.
Because it's very, very conducive for reflection.
Wow.
Desert fathers.
The desert fathers.
Yeah, you hear about desert fathers. That's why they go into the desert to really go into contemplation.
So we are now here having the basic of Christian spirituality, detaching themselves from the busy, noisy community to the desert and finding their peace and inner quiet in the middle of the desert. And Father Boy is telling us here that silence is also vast in terms of being out there in the desert. And bigla din ako napaisip, Father, habang nakikinig ako sa inyo. Curious question again, no?
Okay.
Do American soldiers, when they find that particular period of silence, do they also sing like Filipinos. We
Oh.
tend to sing.
No,
You're not that type.
Yeah.
it's not so much that they cannot sing or they don't sing. The point is, we are in a disciplined community. When it's silence, it's silence. And they don't have any drinks. They actually go to the
Only the chaplains. Only the chaplains will find mompo.
I wonder how you enjoy life, make fun of the experience because you cannot, singing is one of the most enjoyable things you can do, or it's a breather.
Yeah, just to be there. It's really a ministry of presence that you are able to reach out to the soldiers because they're making foxhole digging foxholes, and just say, "Ah, you're doing good. Really like what you're doing." Just saying that, just give them affirmation of what they do.
Especially if these people are really young and
Right.
probably
Yeah.
drafted
Yeah.
against their will sometimes being there.
Yes. So it's about the presence, not so much of accomplishing anything. It's just your presence and your contact with soldiers.
I wonder what hobbies these soldiers have. Do they read? What do they do?
To kill time.
Or they have their own what we call MOS, like their assignment of what they do. Like there are soldiers who are assigned in the office. There are soldiers who are assigned to clean the weapons. There are soldiers who are assigned in the vessels, the different vessels of the of the operation. So they have different assignments. They call it MOS, like it's occupational number or something. Occupational number.
Alright, so we're halfway through our episode for this afternoon. And Alay, if you have a question which pops up along the way, you can just ask that to Father Boy. But as we see our direction today, this afternoon, so we had Father Boy's experience being a military chaplain towards this vocation in the priesthood, taking the background of clinical, pastoral education, and being a minister to these young soldiers in the desert. No? So we move further towards the end of our interview this afternoon. And by the way, thank you very much for doing this for the benefit, especially of our young students listening to us, Father. So thank you very much. No? So, do you have prepared one last question for Father Boy this time? Maybe we can throw that now.
Yeah.
But do you also? I asked him a lot of curious question, but maybe something popped in your mind while listening to him as well. Because it's at one point the seriousness of what he was doing before, and at the same time on the curious part, this mundane experiences of being, that won't happen to everybody, to every priest per se. No, so it's a very unique experience.
Yeah.
But do you have any curious question?
Maybe for the young people listening to us, maybe Father Boy's message to them, especially those, for example, who want adventure in life, but at the same time, something that will give meaning to what they do. So, any message to our young listeners?
Yes. You have to. I would like the young people to really think of what can they do to make a difference in their lives, in their community, whether it's a civil thing or a religious aspect. Well, that is very important because if we don't find the meaning in our existence, no matter how young we are, no matter how incompetent we are, then we get lost in the mundane, in the world. We get lost. If we are only concerned with somebody that will give us pleasure, then we get addicted to it. That's where the problem of addiction is. A lot of our young people will probably have the lust for pleasure. You look at look at the temptation of Eve. Satan showed the beautiful apple like fruit, etc. And Eve says, "Oh, that's a beautiful apple." And later she went to Adam, give it for me,
Right.
And also the temptation of Christ, the first temptation of Christ is, I know you're hungry. You can turn this stone into bread.
Yes.
See that the temptation, the lust of pleasure. So because as I talked to my devotees, I told them that fast and abstinence during Lent does not mean only discipline from eating. It's a discipline of the flesh, from away from the flesh. So to extend that kind of discipline not only to the food and because it's a rule of the church, but every day if we can control and mellow our quest for pleasure.
Let's highlight that.
That's a discipline. That's
Yeah.
a discipline.
Let's highlight that, the discipline and fasting from what is pleasurable.
Yeah. We have to define the pleasure. It's building us up or building us down. You know.
So yeah, venture on something meaningful and something where you can make a difference.
I think that's also the reason why there is campus ministry.
Or join the Jesuits at 0917 Jesuits. Why not become a priest? Probably you will be sent to a mission area you are not familiar with and eventually discover yourself there. That's 0917 Jesuits. Father, baka gusto mo ipunong ang vocation sa diocese sa gagawin po?
Yeah, whatever is your calling, I would say that it's good to be a priest. I love my life. I can't think of anything else that I would want to be, except for what I am now. I mean, it's a very rewarding life, and it's a peaceful life. I have to say, it's a very peaceful life. I feel so content about my life, especially now that I'm already approaching my golden jubilee, my 50 years of the priesthood. And being here in this retreat house, doing my module, really is not making my age a hindrance to what I can still move on in life.
And that moves us to the third question.
Oh yeah, it's still
Yes. One last question, because you mentioned about at your age, you're still taking these new courses to benefit the people that you're going to minister to and accompany. So,
Alright, so what's next for Father Boy in his life?
Yeah, now that I enrolled here, I'll continue my ministry in counseling and spiritual direction. This is what I learned here in this module 3 that there's a room for counseling and spiritual direction in terms of approaches. That you cannot separate spirituality from counseling because according to Saint Thomas, the grace of God will overshadow you when your nature is nurtured and taken care of. Beautiful.
The grace of God will overshadow you.
Yeah, if you take care of your nature. That means the soil is good, and then the grace of God can really absorb or seep into the soil, and it can really build you as a person.
So maybe that can serve as an inspiration to all our listeners and viewers, because Father Boy at his age continues to take modules and classes to further enhance his skills in terms of accompaniment. And I guess it's safe to say that you're already a retired priest.
Yes, I am.
Retired priest, but keep on, pursuing this kind of ministry, because he mentioned that term, I'm at peace with this kind of life.
Yes.
So, sige, alive, Father. So, I think we had a good conversation this afternoon. Maraming salamat sa pagsama niyo sa akin. At kagaya ng nakagawian, dear friends, tinatanong dito sa Campus Ministers on Air yung usual question natin, which is very Ignatian, St. Ignatius de Loyola. Parang nag-model to ka lang din. Where did you find God today or this week? Again, where did you find God today or this week? So siguro alive being the flower among the thorns. We would like to begin first, then Father Boy can be the last.
Maybe two things. Number one, I found God in laughter this week. There were lots of fun moments with my fellow participants in the CIS module, and we found a lot of time to laugh together, to have fun, and I saw how God is also rejoicing with us. I found God in the laughter. And then also, I found God in my directives and the retreats I had super spiritual direction with. I found how God is moving in each one of us, especially through my directives. So let's hear from God this week.
Thank you, Alay. Ako naman, sige, para pinalin natin si Father Boy, no? Ako naman, natagpuan ko ang Diyos sa masarap ng pagkain, no? When you relish the food, when you savor the food, it brings you to that level of gratefulness of what you see in front of you at table, good food. And I can find God there as someone who spoils you, someone who lets you know that you are loved by giving this beautiful and healthy food that you can get from your surrounding. So healthy food for me is where I actually find God. Yung tipong pagsubo mo at mamaya, salamat sa Diyos. Yun po ako. Kayo naman po.
Mine is, I think, because of my age, it's different. I find God every day in my dreams. I have arthritis, and I have diabetes, and I have to go up and down to the third floor to the first floor, and I have to go slow. So my arthritis, my knees are painful. I slowly I go up the staircase, and I can feel that God is carrying me through. So it's not really. I don't make it really a punishment that I have this or a hindrance for what I want. But that's the room assignment He gave me. So I just have to go through it, and I'll survive. I always tell myself I survive.
Wow.
No, I admire Father Rob. I didn't even notice that Father Boy is having a hard time.
It
doesn't show.
I
Yeah.
have a hard time, especially when I have also COPD, and I'm sure regret sometimes. So go slow.
Nasa kabagalan ang kabanalan. At naranasan niyo ni Father sa pagbaba at pag-agad sa madaling na hagdan ng Sacred Heart Novitiate. So before we go, it's about time. Maybe I would like to ask Alay and Father Boy kung meron silang gustong i-announce or ipaalam sa kanilang respective communities, any upcoming events that you are going to participate, that you would like to plug to the social media.
Just want to say hello to my bishop in Tagbilaran and to the priest there. I know you haven't seen me for quite a while. I just came from States, and then it was about a month ago, so I haven't been home to my parish. So I'm here in Manila. I'm now in the Philippines.
Safe and sound, but climbing stairs. Yes. How about you, Alay?
I'd like
Orbs
to
na hawak mo.
hello muna sa mga babies namin sa Youth Christian Life Community in Ateneo de Naga Senior High School, and to my fellow campus ministers, kay Ma'am Karen, Ma'am Ping, and my colleagues in the Senior High School in Ateneo de Naga. Ayan, shout out din kina Val and Nico and Sir Don, my fellow campus ministers in the basic ed. And I'd like also to promote Jesuit Volunteers Philippines. So if we have young people who would like to do mission in the Philippines, if you are under 35 years old, you're single, and you're physically fit, and you'd like to serve the country for at least 1 year, you can search for Jesuit Volunteers Philippines. We are on Facebook, and yeah.
And of course, on my part, senior students, senior graduating students out there, it's good to end your school year and proceed to your commencement exercises with a bang. So kindly sign up to the Silent Ignition Retreats coming up around May 24 to June 5. The sign-up links can be found on our official Facebook page, and hopefully you'll be able to attend a silent ignition retreat before you go. Okay? So I truly wish you well in your last semester in the university. So I guess that's all what we have for today. Again, dear friends, this has been your Campus Ministers on Air. Again, I'm Mike Ramirez. We have Father Boy Rara.
And I'm Eliza Gatito.
And we are now signing out.
God bless you.
fire we reported at the old fire hall is still burning out.
Do you sometimes feel confused or lost in the complications and complexities of life? Do you feel drained, listless, or exhausted from the daily burdens and responsibilities? Why not seek our campus ministers on air every Tuesday from 2 to 3 in the afternoon? Listen to our counselors from the Loyola School's Campus Ministry Office as they ground our lives in our faith, in our school's spiritual tradition. Campus Ministers on Air. Be guided, be inspired, be blessed. Listen to our Campus Ministers on Air.